Welcome back to another episode of the How's Business podcast. This is episode 9. Today we are in Bowral, the heart of Bowral, and when you think of Bowral these days, you think of one place. It's called Franquette. I am interviewing one of the co-owners, a power couple, one of the two halves that make the biggest power couple in Bowral, I reckon, when it comes to business. We're with Romy today, the owner of Franquette Soiree, and soon to be opening Lucette. Romy, welcome to the pod.
Thanks, Trav.
First questions first, how's business?
Business is good. Business is growing. That's where we're at right now. There's a lot happening, and Lucette, our newest venture, should be open within the next 2 weeks.
Damn.
So, growing.
So for our new viewers, everyone's business owners or wanting to start a business, give me like the quick sort of business journey so far that's gotten you up to here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a long one because Julian and I met working in the same place. So that's sort of where the business journey began. We met as we were working in a group of restaurants in Sydney. I was in the office. Julian came in to work on the floor. And that's kind of where it all began. So our relationship has always been working together over that time. I mean, we started our first business there together, which was a cafe in the city, in Sydney CBD. So we did that together with the business owner who was basically our mentor at the time, which was amazing. And then we went on to Mona Farm in Braidwood, which is a luxury accommodation and wedding venue, one of the most amazing places, as you know, you've been there. Yeah. And then that led us from there to Bowral. So we opened Franquette Creperie 2 years ago and Soiree about a year ago, with Lucette set to open in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, amazing. Walk me through the first cafe. How long did you have it for, and what was it called? What did you specialise in?
So Jardin St James was located in Sydney CBD. It was a super unique site in that it had a courtyard and a crypt space in St James Church and a courtyard. Oh, so we were right in the middle of the CBD, obviously pre-COVID, when the CBD was what it was at that time. And it's right near the law courts there. So the Law Fraternity of Sydney were, frequent diners. So we started there basically just with a coffee cart, and then over time was able to expand that to about 100 seats. It was wild because, as with what happens in the city, everyone comes out for lunch, they have an hour, and then they go. So we would do a lot of coffees in the morning, takeaway, grab and go, and then at 12:30, we would have 100 people walk through the door that had to get back to their very busy, important lives straight after. And it became a real community of those people that worked together, and they had this moment outside their day. So it was a really special place. We had that for just under 5 years, and we started that with our boss at the time. So we were working for a group of restaurants. That's where we met. And then during that time, we were offered the opportunity to go into business with him. And it was one of the best experiences that we could have ever had. It was like doing a high-level degree in a very short period of time.
Straight into the fire.
Exactly. And we were just very lucky that the Mona Farm opportunity came our way. And the way that Julia and I always work together is we will look at every opportunity that comes to us. Yeah,
so how long did you have the cafe for?
So it was almost 5 years. We decided to sell mid-2019. We made the move in September 2019, and then COVID was obviously the following year. So
that's lucky.
That was very lucky, and that wasn't something that I could say that was, obviously no one knew it was going to happen. That really was just luck that because our lives would have been very different had we had a Sydney CBD cafe.
And did the Mona Farm opportunity come before?
Yes. So that's basically
Abby.
What started. Thank you, Abby. That's basically what prompted that opportunity. Was something that was sort of happening behind the scenes, and it prompted that. It was sort of the catalyst for that next sort of step.
By the way, guys, if you're in Bowral, Abby makes a really mean long have one every day.
Thanks, Abby.
So what was were you the owner of Mona Farm? Is that how it worked?
No. So an amazing Sydney couple purchased the property, essentially because they fell in love with it. I mean, it is such a special place, and they fell in love with it and decided that it should be shared. So that is sort of how the business came about, and they needed, someone to run it. We sort of connected, and we were really excited by the opportunity. Particularly because it I mean, firstly, their vision for it to be a world-class venue was really exciting to us, but also we were really taken on as almost business partners without being business partners. We had the ability to curate the offering and package it and have the most amazing vision and interiors and gardens and to work with, and then to create an offering that had to complement or rival how amazing everything was a really cool opportunity.
So I want to ask, like, so you had the cafe in St. James, and then you went to Mona Farm. Before you did the cafe, were you always wanting to do business yourself, or was it when you met Julian?
No, it's always been just part of my life, really. My parents had their own business. It was actually my great-grandfather's business. So there's a long line of business ownership. And funnily enough, my parents were in business together in partnership in that. So I had always seen that, not something that I ever thought that I was seeking, to be in business with my husband, but I don't know, read into that, whatever you will.
What business did your parents run?
So my dad was an optometrist and they had an optometry practice in the CBD, but then on the North Shore in Sydney. But they treated, I guess, healthcare almost like hospitality. It was not a sterile environment. It was a beautiful environment. The way that they treated people has always been at the core of like everything I was exposed to.
They modernized it.
Yeah, they did. But they also really looked after people. And they had people that had seen all the generations that would travel from, halfway across Australia to come and see them.
Yeah.
So that is something that was always a part of our lives, and seeing them do that as a small business and being, they're young children and very similar to us now, definitely shaped what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So before we owned the cafe, I worked for the group of restaurants, but I really went off to uni doing a business degree. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went to the International College of Management in Sydney, where they have a lot of practical courses. So I did event management alongside the business course because I just wanted some more practical something,
How was the business course itself?
It's a very different environment at that college because it's unlike normal uni. You're at college. We wore a uniform. We looked like flight attendants.
This was 10, 11, 12, or is this after year 12?
This is after year 12. So it was in place of like university because I got a business degree through Macquarie Uni there. Yeah. But there was a lot of practical experience. Like you went out within the 3 years and did 9 months industry training.
That's awesome.
So it was a really great way. And I think for me, I needed that more like practical side. Like I didn't see myself sitting in like lectures all day. And that's where I sort of got exposed to the events side of things. But the hospitality thing, I went, after finishing uni, I could not get a job interview. I was out there trying to get a job. That was the next natural step. I could not get an interview.
Classic.
And then I got 4 interviews in a week and I got 4 jobs offers. And that was a real like sliding doors moment of like, what path do I go down? I think one was in a hotel, one was like a corporate agency, one was a hospitality group. And so I had to make this decision of like where I would start. And I went with the amazing Sydney Restaurant Group, which is where I met Julian. So that was all meant to be. Out. But that really shaped what came next.
Yeah, that's interesting to me because most people that have parents as business owners, they sort of avoid business because they see their parents go through the stress and everything. Like my parents had a cafe in Liverpool. Mm-hmm. And it was great, like lots of great memories, but I do remember the stressful moments too. Yeah. And that sort of sticks with you. Yeah. But I think I was young enough where I didn't remember it enough. Yeah. Whereas my older brother remembers everything. Yes. So it's interesting that you went through business and like had your own love for it. Yeah. Did your parents play any role in sort of convincing you to start a business or go down that path?
Their biggest sort of mantra or advice that they ever sort of gave myself and my brother was go and be whatever you want to be as long as you want to be the best. And that could have been any path. We weren't pushed down to continue the optometry, line of business at all. There was no pressure to do that. It was just find what you want to do as long as you want to be the best.
I love that.
And I think that has been such great advice. Because I think, particularly, in anything anyone does, but particularly this, or having your own business, like it's not easy. No. And a lot of days are hard. And there is a lot of pressure, particularly in small business when you're doing it. You know, you're looking around and there isn't all these departments to help you. There isn't that, you know, if you didn't have the passion to want to be the best, probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's hard enough as it is without that drive. And
Yeah.
so the drive to, you know, achieve and in a good way has always sort of been there.
Yeah, amazing. So walk me through Manor Farm. How long were you there? And then how did Franquette come about?
So we were there again for just a little under 5 years. We made the move. So we left Sydney, moved to Braidwood, and we were all in, which is what we do. Like we explore every opportunity. We look at what those are. When we make a decision to do something, like we are all in.
I'm sensing a pattern.
Yeah. Our friends thought we were crazy. But we saw the opportunity. We saw the vision Bill and B had for the property, and we decided we wanted to be a part of that. So we moved our lives. Macy was 1 at the time. And basically when we got there, there was no business. There was an amazing vision and a plan for what was to come, but we inherited a team of 3 people and, you know, over 100 acres, and with this plan to do what we did. There wasn't, you know, facility set up to take payment even. There was like no website. That's where we started. And then we were able to build this with Bill and B, this offering of how, you know, what we wanted people to experience there. And then we just got to work. And over the time there, I mean, we ended up with accommodation for over 100 people because they acquired the motel in town and 2 guest houses in town. So we had this suite of accommodation, 53 on the property and the rest offsite. And then we also opened a cafe in town, which was a creperie, as part of the business. We ended up at the peak, I think we had a team of over 80 people, with Julian and I sort of running the day to day.
Give me some advice. Like, how did you sort of start hiring? Because you had a team of 3 already. Yeah. How did you choose what was next? Because I can see you guys have a very good gift for hiring the right staff.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that, a skill that's been honed over time. I think we're certainly better at it now than we were, you know, at the cafe in Sydney, because you sort of get a better understanding of people and what you're looking, and you get a better idea of what you're looking for too.
Yeah.
So look, we knew that we needed several departments. We knew with the volume that we were going to do, we had never done accommodation before. So that was the whole piece we were working out. But we knew we needed, you know, we were going to have the event side of things. We were going to need the planning, because if you're planning over 60 weddings a year, there's a lot that goes into that.
Don't get me started.
And they were all 3-day events. So of everyone, you're looking at a welcome dinner, a wedding, and like a recovery at minimum. We knew we needed, you know, housekeeping department. Obviously, the farm needed to be taken care of. There were animals. That was a whole learning curve.
Shaggy cows.
There were 8 acres of manicured gardens. It was big. So we knew we needed the department. So that's basically where we started, is to find good people who were experts in those areas. We didn't have those skills. So we had to go out and find people who we could work with
daily
to deliver.
And trust. How did, so 5 years at Manor Farm?
Yeah.
How did this come up? What did you then, and talk me through the experience of looking at like pace and like, do we or don't we, everything.
Yeah. So with where we got to, I mean, we feel like we achieved what we set out to there. The goal was to put it on the map and to create a world-class venue. And I mean, it was just some of the most beautiful experiences that were delivered, and really unique experiences. But we got to a point where we sort of looked at each other, and our family was growing. We had Lolo while we were there. And we sort of looked around and thought, okay, we can do this. We could keep doing this. It's amazing, and we could keep doing this. But we know what our life will be. And of course, at some point you hit kind of a ceiling of working for someone else, what that looks like, right? Like we didn't have any ownership in the business. And we could have stayed and we could have had a very happy life. But we sort of looked at each other and said, okay, I think we want more. Yeah. And we're going to work out how to go out and get it. And a life for our kids where we could also not be being on 7 days a week. Yeah. So we started to have a think about what we could do. Julian's background is front of house hospitality in a la carte environments, in, like Michelin star restaurants of Europe. So we had the backing of the a la carte experience, and obviously working in the restaurant group together, we knew how to do that. We create a really good team because we don't do the same thing. Like my area is like sales, marketing, client communications, how things feel, like setting expectations before people walk through the door so the team are best positioned to deliver. And then Julian's side is the operations. So he's in here more than I am on a day-to-day basis. He's more hands-on with the team, and he is actually delivering the experience.
I love that.
So we're a good little team, and we sort of looked, a creperie is something we'd always wanted to do, and we had done that in Braidwood, but so we knew that that's something that we liked and that people liked. So then we got to work thinking about where. And that was the next thing, is like, where could it be? There were a few parameters around that, like good schools was a big one. Enough of a local trade, but also tourists coming through to support the business. And ideally, because my parents are so helpful, being within some proximity to Sydney was the plan. If it had been a little bit warmer, that would have been like everything ticked. But that one had to.
When did you move here?
2 years ago.
Yeah, same as me.
Yeah.
I did not realize how much it rains.
Yeah. But you know what? Cold weather and rain is good crepe eating weather.
It is great crepe eating.
So we can't complain too much.
We got a Cocker Spaniel 14 months ago, and poor guy, it's freaking raining all the time. He just looks out the window. He's like, what the hell's going on here? It's terrible.
Yeah.
How did you come across this site? Because I've been coming here with my wife since we were 16. Like, because we're from Western Sydney, we'd come here for a break. It used to be an elephant boy. Yeah. Elephant boy.
Yeah.
Tell me how you came across the site and everything like that.
So once we had the location, locked in that this was an area that we could see it all working, we got to work looking for sites. Now, in our time at Sydney Restaurant Group, and our business partner, whose name was also Bill, all our business partners are named Bill.
More patterns, yeah.
He was extremely influential in shaping how we do business. There honestly wouldn't be a week that goes by where I don't put myself in Bill's shoes and go, like, what would Bill do in this situation? And sites was a big, understanding sites. I mean, in my time at Sydney Restaurant Group, I think they had 11 venues.
Yeah,
there's a lot more now, but Bill's an incredibly clever businessman, and there was a lot that we were taught during that time. So we knew the site had to have good visibility, good foot traffic, and also be big enough. Like, if it's not big enough, you can't get the volume.
No.
You don't have enough seats. So all of those things factored into it, how many times we could turn the tables, how many seats we needed, what type of environment, how big the kitchen was. So we went about looking for a site. And in our experience, particularly at that time, it's a little bit of a different world now, but you sort of need to buy a business to secure a good site. So that's what we did. We ended up buying that business that was here, not for the business, but for the lease.
For the site.
Yeah.
It was a business cafe full of books. What did you do with all the books?
4,000 books.
Yeah.
And we bought in the sale. We have kept some books as a memento, but the books went to a very happy locals home that had lots of bookshelves to fill.
Nice.
So hopefully they're enjoying them.
Yeah, I remember all those books. What I wanted to ask you next, you started Franquette. The branding, the look, the feel, everything like that, because you said that's your specialty.
Yes.
How do you create a business image?
This is hard to explain because when we sort of look to open a new business, like I feel I can see it and feel it before it's anything.
Because a lot of the listeners, they're thinking about starting a business, or they're in business, about to open a second one or rebrand. I really want to pick your brain about how you go about branding image.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I'm very lucky to work with one of my very best friends, Alice from Maybe 80. She is a graphic designer, and we have worked together for a really long time. So one, I'm lucky in that aspect because we almost speak in shorthand, and we have a real understanding of each other and really good communication. I mean, firstly, we model the business and we know exactly what it's going to be before it exists in any form. I do a lot of like Pinteresting and things so that I can get some visual references. And I think that's really important. But I think the main thing is starting out, ensuring that you know what it is. Because if you don't know what it is, you're going to have a really hard time communicating that to anyone else. So we spend a lot of time thinking about more than how it should look, how it should feel is the first step.
Yeah.
How do we want people to feel when they walk in? And how are we going to make that happen? And then that ties into the branding. So finding someone from a graphics point of view that you work with really well and that understands your vision and your style too. We have quite I'm very particular about how I want things to look too, and try to maintain consistency in that. But I mean, the first step is making sure you know what it is and what it should look like, because then once you start to work with someone that, you know, can't necessarily see into your brain, once you see it, you'll know it.
Yeah.
And then you can provide feedback on that. Hopefully that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. So when you're branding and things like that, coloring, you're really good at colors. When you come into the space, the colors all go together. Your social media branding, the fonts, everything like that. How long are you spending on that process? Like, what's a realistic time frame where you're like, okay, now I'm happy with it?
Because we have this relationship, for us, it's pretty quick.
Okay.
The bit that takes more time is me getting it together in terms of what I want it to look like.
Conceptualizing.
And that, exactly.
Yeah.
And that a lot of that is, for me, is Pinterest and putting that together and building different boards and going through that process. But because by the time we've got to that, we've modeled it, we know what our product is. For me, and because that's what I do, it's quite a natural and relatively quick process.
Second nature.
Exactly. Because I think the way that we look at it, you can look at it as just your brand or like pretty colors and pictures. But again, it's all about setting expectations before people walk through the door and making sure that aligns to the actual experience they are going to have. Because if I could create something that looked really, really beautiful, but didn't reflect what we do here, and then automatically there is a disconnect. So that's what we really focus on. And for Lucette, like, we've been going through that process at the moment. It's different to here, so it's got a totally different brand image and look and feel. We try to also look for things that, like, good reference points. Obviously you're creating something unique, but like, where does that come from? You know, for us over there, there's a lot of feeling of like a Paris cafe meets bistro, and like what goes into that? Where did that come from? What is the history of that? The European feel of dining, and then how to communicate that.
I like that. I like that a lot, because I feel like a lot of business owners just start and then they choose something that's trending.
Yes.
Branding wise.
Yes.
And they've got no actual attachment to the branding itself.
Yes.
Whereas you have an attachment to this branding. Obviously, your husband's French.
Yes.
But you can see that throughout, like with our gyms.
Yeah.
It's all about the history of the gyms. We've been teaching for 20 years. We tell the history, going through all the tournaments that we've done and the gyms that we've owned.
Yes.
It was only when we started telling the story that we started getting that connect with the customers. Give me a quick rundown of how long did it take you to set up this place?
This was, I mean, you know, it would be nice to have a really long lead time where you're organized and everything's happening, but this was, you know, the reality is, you know, you need to make a living and you've got bills to pay and everything. So I moved with the girls. Julian was still working at Mona Farm. We got the keys to open here. I mean, before that, we'd probably been planning for, say, 3 or 4 months. It was quick.
Yeah.
We got the keys to here. We started a renovation, which we gave ourselves 2 weeks to do, which was a full renovation. And during that time, Julian was still delivering his final weddings, still to the standard that he was doing them, and driving back and forth here. He finished there. We literally opened 3 days later. So it was crazy. Wild. But we had to. Yeah. We didn't, you know, you've outlaid all this money to make it happen. And, you know, without us opening the doors, there's no money coming in. So that's what we did. And I think this sort of business is quite different to others in that once you throw open the doors, you are open. There is no like slow scaling. If you're in the right place and people are interested, you're on from the moment those doors open.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, in our first week, we served more customers than we ever anticipated we would. Now we're at a point where on a single Saturday, we could serve over 700 people. So that has grown over time, but it was a wild start, and we threw those doors open and we were on. So you're working a lot of it out on the go, but it's both our, like what we've done in our careers.
Yeah.
So like we did have that backing to go, okay,
yeah,
this is going to be hard, but we know what we're doing.
Yeah, it's hospitality here. Like you're serving crepes, serving coffee. What are the main expenses of your business model?
So the modelling is extremely important and something we go through in every opportunity we look at. And this is definitely credited to Bill, who was our mentor over all those years.
Shout out, Bill.
Shout out, Bill. And I didn't know that he was doing that at the time. But literally every week we would sit down, he would write the numbers down on a piece of paper, we would go through it, he would expose me to the profit and loss. And so that foundation was sort of there.
What are your thoughts on that, exposing staff to profit and loss?
I think that if they're the right people in your business, then it can only do good things. There's got to be other sides to it though. I mean, like if they're incentivized by it, then they have to have some control over it. And they have to, and particularly if they're incentivized by it, they have to be able to see it. There has to be visibility. So I think it can come unstuck sometimes, but in my experience, it's typically when your goals aren't aligned or you've maybe got the wrong people in with you, which can happen.
It can happen.
Everyone's not meant for everyone.
Yeah.
But in my experience where that, comes off the rails is you typically find out that you're not meant to be in it together.
Yeah.
But in terms of our biggest cost, so labour, huge expense, obviously, because we can't do it without people. So that is one side of it. Cost of goods, rent, overheads. It's a very simple model.
Overheads being?
Overheads being, I mean, the way we do it is we bundle all those things up like, I don't know, electricity, gas, the bin company coming to take away the rubbish, like all of those sort of operational things. And, you know, in Australian hospitality, if you are a business that is like profiting, say, between 5 and 10%, you're doing very well. I mean,
really?
Yeah. I mean, we aim for like that 15 to 20, but like that's a stretch target and that's hard to achieve. So it's certainly, it's a hard game.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, you only have to read any headline about hospitality at the moment to see how many restaurants are closing. And all of those things are, you know, all the costs are increasing. Everyone's rents are going up. The food costs have gone up astronomically since COVID. So it's tricky, but that's why modelling this is so important. We have a weekly P&L that we look at.
P&L being profit and loss?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we have obviously we have everything set up in Xero and we can jump in there anytime, but we have an amazing bookkeeper and it's taken a while to get to that point where you find the right people. We had a very bad accountant to start with. So there's been some, you know, learnings in that, but we have an amazing bookkeeper and we have asked him to prepare like a mini profit and loss every single week. And we look at that every week and obviously it changes because, you know, some weeks are better than others.
What's your thoughts on that? Why every week?
Because in hospitality, if you wait for every quarter to review your numbers, it's too far gone. If something's going wrong in that, like even your food costs have crept up by a couple of percent, or because you've got so little to work with at the end of the day, if you wait till 3 or 4 or 6 months to have a look at it, you might not be coming back from that. So we look at it every week and we adjust every week if we need to. Which, you know, some weeks, like I said, it's because it is seasonal. Like here, school holidays are much better for us than like a normal week. The Christmas period is great, but it gives us a sense over time. And it also means we've got a really good handle on what like our break-even point is.
Yeah.
You know, we know what that is now. We know what we need to turn to be able to do it at this level. And every model is different. Like when we're modelling for Lucette over the road, the food offering is different. So we're adjusting within...
I want to pick your brain more on that.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of a profit and loss week that you've looked at and something where you're like, okay, that's spending too much there or we're not earning enough on this day and the actions that you made after that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, definitely with the growth that we're experiencing right now and getting prepared to open the other site, labour cost has been a big one and working out how we will look at that and what that means for here and that site. But definitely, I mean, things can happen. New managers can come in and do the roster and then suddenly, you know, that percentage is creeping up, or the food cost, there's something that's happened. You know, it may be that a supplier has put up the cost of one item, but it's the item that we use the most of. So it's having a feel of that so that we can go and investigate. Okay, well, I know it's in the label or I know it's in the food. What's happened? Is it that we've got a whole new team that we're training and the wastage is higher? Is there, I mean, there's lots of things that you could look at, but they're basically the things. But it gives us like a big signpost to be like, hey, this is the area. Go and work out what it is. And it could be a number of things.
You're one of the few business owners I've met that are numbers driven. A lot of people don't look that much into their numbers. They sort of just see what comes in, pay what they need to pay, and then whatever's left, they just presume that that's all profit.
Yeah.
Were you always numbers, like analytical like that?
No.
Yeah.
Because it comes from like everything that we do, it's the passion first and the love for what we do. But you very quickly realize that if you don't have the numbers to back you, that's not going to be a very long lasting dream.
Yeah.
We did, when we had our cafe in the city, during that time, we did try to open another site. It was a completely different concept. And we were very, very lucky that our business in the city was a successful, buzzing cafe. But we did open another site, which was a different concept. It was basically going to be like a baguette bar, which is more like a grab and go, get coffee. And we were young and it didn't work. And we overestimated the model. We overestimated the revenue. We thought it would be a small little thing. And the pain of like, we were going to be fine because we had a successful business, but that was propping up this other one.
Yeah.
And like, essentially it failed. Like we closed it. But I think that experience, the feeling of that has guided us in everything else we've done. And I would never take it back. But it certainly gives you a bit of a wake-up call to say, you know, just because you're passionate about it and just because you believe in it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work.
You earned your stripes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we definitely did with that, but it's changed the way that we look at how we do business.
It's the same as us. We tried to expand too quickly when we were younger in business. Franchising, all that different types of things, and then had to close some down, learned a lot from it.
Yeah.
We got to the stage where we were living out of our gym, like it got really bad.
Yeah.
But the passion, everything got us through it.
Yeah.
So when you sort of closed that second cafe, how did you sort of dust yourself off? A lot of people, it's hard.
Yeah.
Like it's hard.
It is hard. It's really hard.
Because you put so much in something and it fails, like it's very hard to know, one, that it's failed, and two, move on and
move on, and also like continue that drive to reframe it. Like it knocks your confidence a bit too, because, you know, up until that point, we were good at this, you know, so it definitely knocks your confidence. I think I would say it's part of also why we explored the Mona Farm opportunity in some sense. I mean,
something different.
It was something different, and I think we did have a bit of a knock to go like, maybe we don't want to be in business. You know, it was one of those moments, but what we ended up in was the closest thing to having your own business without actually having any ownership.
Yeah.
So it's very natural for us, and this is where we thrive. So, I mean, it makes sense that we ended up back here.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
If you can work weddings,
yeah,
you could do anything.
Agreed. I think the people aspect of anything is the most challenging, but the most rewarding.
Yeah.
And if you have experience dealing with people and you see them at their best and at their worst, which is quite often weddings.
Weddings, yes.
But you still love them despite it, then I think you're meant for this.
When I first met you guys, and then I said I was like, you guys knew me from weddings already. Whenever I come in after a wedding day or 3 weddings in a row, Julian just looks at me. He doesn't say anything. Just sits me down.
Just a level of understanding.
There's so much understanding there that people don't understand weddings.
Yes.
Weddings is crazy.
Crazy.
How did you feel going from weddings, which is pretty much 14-hour days for you because you're the venue like manager, to nice, calm cafe?
I mean, I wish I could say it was nice and calm. I mean, we trade here 7 days, breakfast, lunch and dinner.
Different chaos.
It's a different chaos. I think it's much more consistent because we're just doing it every day now, where there isn't this build up to each one, and then you know it. And I mean, that is different stakes. It's the best day of people's lives, and you're responsible for making that happen.
This is true.
So that it's a different kind of stress, I think.
Yeah.
But a lot of the same. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just people.
Yeah, just people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
People dealing with people. The next question I wanted to ask you, staffing.
Yes.
How many staff do you have right now?
So right now we have 42 staff. That is that's increased a little bit in the last couple of weeks because we're gearing up to open over the road. So
42.
it's a lot. I mean, and look, in saying 42, we have, that is everyone from, we have some juniors that come in that will do 2 hours on a Sunday through to, our general manager who is full-time. So, it's not 42 full-time staff, but everyone has their needs and needs to be taken care of and needs to be paid.
Give me Romy's recipe for hiring.
Romy's recipe for hiring. I wish I had a recipe. I think that would make things easier. I think, and like I said before, we've definitely got better at it.
All right, give me red flags to look out for.
Red flags to look out for. We always look for drive.
Okay.
So drive, are people going to want to be there? What are their motivations? But above all else, it's the experience comes second to, in this business, a genuine love of customer service and hospitality. That for me is something that is very, very hard to teach. And if you don't genuinely want to deliver that or interact with people or connect with people, then it's the wrong game. Everything else can be taught. You can be taught an order of service. You can be taught how to carry 3 plates. You can be taught to learn, wine varietals, but you can't be taught that innate people quality. So that's I think above all else what we look for. Of course, you've got to have a mix of that. Like, it would be nice and magical to say that,
Everyone's like that,
but of course we do also need people in the room that have experience. So it's a balance.
You have this thing and you're starting to hire managers. So say it's not this business, but anyone in a business, you've built it up to a stage and now you need to get a manager. How do you sort of find that manager? How do you trust them? Start showing them profit and loss statements, things like that. Like, how do you find someone to give the reins to?
It's hard.
It is
particularly when, like this, because we're in it together, Julian and I, like it's our whole life and it's our whole life together. So obviously finding people that you're prepared to let go of some control is hard. It's really hard. But the decision we made is, and why we're growing, is because we sort of looked around here and we have a successful business here, but Julian was very much in the business. And without him here almost 7 days, it wasn't, we didn't have enough adults in the room. We didn't have any sort of like high level managers,
to push it
in that capacity. So we made the decision to open another site, and we can catch up again and we'll tell you if this worked, but to open another site so we could have more revenue stretched across both, to have more high level managers to partner with us in the business. So we've brought on a general manager recently. And that's been a new thing for us in this business.
Yeah.
So look, it's difficult. It's working out how to relinquish enough control to give them space to understand and grow in the role without the wheels falling off.
It's a very hard thing because your general managers aren't cheap.
No.
It's like us with center managers. You have to really look at your whole life and then take a sacrifice, take a chip away from your own pay and like lifestyle, things like that to hire this person on a whim. You're not sure if it's going to work or not. Yeah. How long have you had a general manager for now?
Coming up to about 5 months.
Yeah. And how have you found that? Like, there's a lot of business owners that are maybe at that stage now where they're looking at a general manager.
I mean, I think the biggest test for us is that within sort of 2.5 months of that hire, we had a holiday planned. Nice. And we were having this holiday, no matter what happened, we were going.
France, right?
We went to France,
and
we went for almost a month. A big test for us in that was about 2.5 months into that hire. We had a holiday planned and we were going, and we spent all this time gearing the team up with these new hires, but it was a real test. And I think And they did it. Like, they did an amazing job. And I think the reflection on that for us, like, we got back, they did an incredible job. And it was almost like a forced having to step back that gave them the space to go, no, guys, we can do this.
Yeah, man.
And have it. And it was forced because it's really hard to like let go of your baby and like see stuff happen and you're like, but they have to. And just because, I think the other thing is just because they wouldn't necessarily do it exactly how Julian or I would, doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just a different style and it can achieve the same thing. It's just done differently. So that sort of opened our eyes too, to not be so like
hyper fixated.
Yeah. And like, controlling of the thing. But on the flip side, like it, pays all our wages. We've got a commitment to all our staff to pay. So it's a balance. It's a balance. But they did it, and that was huge for us.
When I first hired our first manager, they were older than me, and that was such a weird thing.
Yes.
Because I was sort of like telling him, hey, we need to look at this. Felt weird. Right now, my general manager for one of my centers is my age.
Yeah.
And we used to compete for Australia together when we were 15. So there was a relationship there. So when I talk to her, it's like, I got to stop like being a friend and I got to get to the manager hat.
Yes.
And then after, when we're outside, okay, back to like, we can talk casually again.
Yeah.
So managers, they're interesting.
Yeah.
Would you have two managers, two sites, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So general manager, restaurant manager at each site, head chef at each site. We've also hired an amazing executive chef who will oversee all the sites, and who knows, maybe more one day. But I do think on what you just touched on, I do think that like as you get older, one, you get more experienced and you get a better sense of just people and the things that can pop up or the support you need to give them. But I also think that age thing is a real dynamic that you do have to acknowledge.
Yeah.
Like you can't, as we've sort of been managing people, like I've been managing people since I was 21. And there is an element there that you have to change your style based on like the situation.
Yeah. 100%.
Like if you have someone that you're managing that is 20 years older than you, like there's different tools you're going to need to use. And I do think as you get older and that shifts, I think that becomes a little bit easier because people are suddenly looking, and after you've achieved stuff too, like people can look at you and go, okay, I get it. You have to work less hard at you still have to earn everyone's respect, but there is a level that, you walk into and you look like the boss, right? Before that, it's hard.
I remember being 15, opening the gym.
Yeah.
And you get trials that are 40 years old. They're looking at you like, what is going on here?
Yes.
And you just have to have that charisma, that confidence that, I do run this ship. Next thing I want to ask you, you opened Franquette. Can you give me your best day in business? What did it look like? So far, what's the best day
Best day in business. I think it was probably more of a moment than a specific day. And I think it would be when, we went all in on this, and it's a very unique sort of concept. It's a very specific offering. And I think the moment that we realized it was going to work, that people were coming in and we could see the restaurant busy and that people were really liking what we were doing and getting the feedback and having that moment, even still sometimes I wake up and be like, oh, today might be the day that no one comes. But we just turned 2 and
Congratulations.
Thank you. And people are really enjoying what we do. And I think that moment where you're going from like survival to looking around and being like, oh, this is working. I think that was like the best moment.
Contrast, what's the worst day in business you've had at Franquette?
I don't know, at Franquette, the worst day in business ever for me would have probably been, and similarly to like the opposite of what I just said, in that baguette bar. It was like a hole in the wall. I think I must have been like 7, 8 months pregnant. I had to be in there by myself because we didn't have the revenue wasn't there for the wages. And there was the only way to get out, to go to the bathroom, there was a thing like this, but there was also, once you were set up, it wasn't easy to get out. So I just remember crawling out to get out and going, this isn't going to work. And I think having that moment where you're at actually having to recognize that and come to terms with the fact that it wasn't going to work, I think that was probably the worst. Thankfully, we haven't had a day like that here.
Thankfully, yeah. Advice for working with your spouse. You and Julian run a business together, two
Yes.
businesses together, 43 staff, 2 kids. How do you do it?
I would love to say that answer where, we have boundaries. When we get home, we don't talk about work. That is not the reality of how we do it at all. I think for us, the way that it works is one, it's sort of how our relationship started. So this is not something that's new for us, and we've definitely got better at it over time. But I think also for us, we are in this together, 100%, which is a really, really nice thing to have. But also we have very different areas of what we do. So he has his area, I have my area, and we kind of know when we get into it, if we're not agreeing on something, because sometimes that happens, we sort of know who owns that space. And I can then go, okay, well, actually, that's your space, and I get where you're coming from. And we, like I said, we've got a lot better at it, and it works for us.
Yeah.
But it's not all smooth sailing.
No, it's not. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question would be Bowral.
Yes.
How did you sort of find starting a business in Bowral? Did you know anything about Bowral? And how were the people when you came in? Was there sort of resistance there, or was it sort of open from the start?
It was interesting. I sort of sat in the front window for the first 2 weeks, just listening to people, hearing them walk through the door. Obviously, they didn't know who I was, just sat there on my laptop. And it was interesting because some people walked past the door expecting to be going to Elephant Boy, and you'd hear them go, oh no, it's gone. And then other people were really excited. So I think there's a bit of that. I mean, it's, you can't be everything to everyone, but we were really welcomed by the community. I think the locals here were looking for something that was for them. And that
Definitely.
was a lot of the feedback that we got, is that, a lot of locals didn't feel like there was something that was designed for locals. And that's really how we started the business, and definitely what we're looking at over the road too, is something that's made for the neighbourhood and then, loved by visitors also.
Yeah.
We have been the community has been beautiful. They have accepted us. And we feel like we're part of it now. And it was quick. But also, you'll see Julian walk down the street now. He can't get 2 feet without, seeing someone he knows or being run after by kids. It's the great man. So it's amazing.
I've got a hard question for you. Because you're a new business coming in, Bowral's a very well-established place, a lot of older people, a lot of older businesses. Was there any resistance from other cafes? Because you were the first modern one to come into the area.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact because we've been coming here for years. But you're the first one to sort of last and create something new. Was there any resistance from any other cafes or anything?
Felt.
Yeah, cool.
We take an approach to business, and particularly here, there's enough for everyone. And the other thing that we strongly believe in is that good brings good. So the way that we view it is that the more good quality restaurants, cafe, food offerings, the more people that come, that go out, and there's enough to be shared. And I think that there's more to gain in collaborating and understanding what other people are going through, and talking about suppliers and how because they're the people that have the experience.
Collaboration over competition, right?
Absolutely, always. So that's the approach we've taken, and we really didn't feel any sort of resistance. Which is, from local business owners or the community. We're really, welcomed.
Outside in, cafes is always the scariest thing to look at as a business model. Restaurants as well. It looks crazy to me, like it always has. When you look at a space, you've done it a couple of times now. What are the factors are you looking at? Are you looking at population? Are you looking at foot traffic? What sort of things are you looking at?
Definitely foot traffic. Every business is different. So, to take it back a step, we look at the model. We look at it from 2 different ways. Those percentages I talked about before for your food costs, your labour, your rent, your overheads, and you've got the percentages that you want to model it against. Then you can work out what revenue target you need to hit, so you can do it that way. Then the flip side of that is going, okay, what is my average spend per head going to be, and how many covers do I need to serve to achieve that? People.
Yep.
Seats, bums on seats.
Yep.
So you can look at it both ways. So then you go into it going, okay, for this particular concept, I'm going to need to serve X amount of people a day at X spend per head. And then that forms part of looking for a site.
You work backwards.
Yeah. I think you work backwards and forwards. I think you've got to look at it from both angles. But then here, size is one big thing. climate is another, because I think we went into this looking for something with that real French feel, like hopefully looking to have more outdoor sort of courtyard space than indoor. And we quickly adjusted based on the weather here. Like if 75% of our restaurant was outdoors, we'd have a really tough time because it's just too cold here. So that's one aspect. And also just looking at how, which we had to just try and work out before we were here. Now we have a much better understanding, but really trying to understand how a town or the location operates. Here, it's like, it operates like a small country town, but it's big, like it's bigger.
Yeah.
So that definitely plays into like the style of service, how we thought people would dine out. I mean, people eat very early here, which is great by us. I'm in bed by 8:30, so it's perfectly fine.
It's everything's closed at 8:30. Yeah.
So I think, definitely how a space operates, the climate, how many seats you need, foot traffic, a big part of it.
What advice would you give to someone looking to start a cafe or a restaurant? What are some red flags you would look for in a site?
Firstly, as advice for someone that's looking at opening a cafe or restaurant, I would strongly advise against it if the reason for doing it is because you love eating out. You love being in that environment, because if you get into it, you'll eat out less. You will do less of that thing that you loved. And I think, some people have a career change and decide that looks really fun. Like, it is fun, and there's a lot of dynamic and exciting parts of it. But if that's the core reason, it's probably not the way to go. But in terms of, in answer to your question, like in terms of looking for a site, like the first thing is to model it, is to work out, like, can you actually, just because you have a great idea that you think people are going to love, you need to go away. And it can be very high level, like have those basic percentages and then work out how many people do I need to serve? Is that realistic? Like, will I be able to do that long enough? And also, how many people do I need within the mix for my labor to deliver that?
Yeah.
Because obviously you get into brackets, like, I can have a team on that I can do between X and X people. And then you jump up to the next step where you need more people, where you could do a low amount up to a higher amount. So you've got to factor those things in throughout the day. But my biggest piece of advice would be love it, but model it.
Yeah.
And make sure that you're going to be able to, because, I mean, we love it, but at the end of the day, the reality is, like, we need to pay ourselves.
Yeah.
And there's got to be something left at the end of the day.
How does it work with staff? Do you have one staff member per however many covers, or does it change?
We have sections.
Yeah.
So we have different sections of the restaurant, and they are allocated to those tables, but then it is staggered throughout the day based on how many covers we expect to, or people we expect to welcome in the doors during that time. Here it's very fast paced, but it's so important that we provide that level of service that we've become known for.
Yeah.
And that's all of Julian's background coming into it. Like, we approach this with the fundamentals of, like, fine dining service delivered in a really relaxed way. So there is an order of service.
Yeah.
There is that, like, secret language that goes on the table that no one really knows about, right? Like, if you sit down, if your water glass is turned over, that signals something, that your water order, if you want still or sparkling or tap, has been taken. If your menus have been taken away, then obviously you've placed your order. There are all these little secret bits of language which come from, like, a fine dining environment, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we apply here. And I think that really, I mean, the product is very good, it's very unique, but the secret really here is how we, like, connect with people.
Give me the concept for Lucette.
Lucette is a cafe meets bistro, which has been designed for the neighbourhood, and the inspiration behind it is those, like, feelings and the pace and the energy from, like, a cafe or bistro in Paris, where you can stop in for a morning coffee, through to, have your croissant, or, come in and have beautiful salad or sandwich for lunch, and dinner is more bistro vibes. But it's that relaxed energy. You could drop in for a glass of wine if you wanted to, or a coffee at 5 o'clock. So that's what we're trying to capture there.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
A few last questions for you. Mum of 2 and running 2 businesses and 43 staff. How do you do it?
It's not easy. I think that you've got to give yourself a little bit of grace and quite quickly realize that like you're not going to kill it in every area. There's going to be some days where like I'm a great mum and other days where I'm a great business owner, and sometimes that doesn't all happen at the same time. We're very lucky that my parents are a great support to us. But yeah, I think giving yourself a bit of grace, and you know, we are trying to do it all and it's chaotic at times, but we're making it work.
Yeah, nice. The best piece of business advice that you've ever received?
I think we kind of touched on them, right? Like the modeling, I think, is that like that's not very inspirational and like, but the modeling is so important.
What's something someone said to you? Like,
the thing that someone has said to me is that it doesn't matter what you want to be as long as you want to be the best. And I think that is what we take every day with us. Like we're out there, we're striving to be the best, because otherwise what's the point? If you don't love it and you want to be the best, then...
There's a young Romy listening to this podcast, someone who's maybe doing hospitality or a different industry, and they're about to make the jump to start their first business. Mm-hmm. What would you say to that person?
I would say if you've got something that you really want to do and you're really passionate about it, I would say take the leap, but give yourself every opportunity to make it work. And that would be by like preparing yourself, getting an understanding of how you're going to go from A to B, what steps you need to take, and having a sense of like planning around it. So you've got this path, because it's not going to be easy, but it's worth it if you get it. So I would say take the leap, and be ready to work hard.
No, amazing. No, I want to thank you for your time on the pod, of course. And I think maybe we'll do another one at Lucette when it opens. See how it goes. I know it's going to do really well. And
thanks,
what you guys have done in the Bowral community is really great. We've done before. So I've known you since Mona Farm days. So sort of seeing that trajectory. I'm noticing a 5-year trend. So
Who knows?
Give you 3 years, you might do something different again.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know a lot of people listening to the pod would get a lot out of this podcast. So appreciate you coming on. And thanks for the coffee, of course.
You're welcome.
And we'll check in like a year's time, yeah?
Thanks for having me, Trav.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you.